think we're going live. Currently says please stand by, but it also says I've been live for 7 seconds, so who knows? Good morning, everyone. If you can hear me, I'm going to check and make sure I'm doing something a little bit different today than I normally do. So let's see if this is actually working. I'm going to head over to YouTube on my phone and see if I am in fact live, and it looks like I am. So that's exciting. I think. If you are in the chat, please let me know that you can see and hear me. Oh, hey, look, I can pull it up on my phone and see that I am in fact live. So perfect. I'm using a slightly different setup. So apologies for the technical doubt on my end, but I'm doing something different than I normally do. So good morning and welcome to Board Game Brunch. This is my monthly live Q&A where I answer your questions live right here in the chat. It has been a week for me, and I just, we don't want to get into the details, but I was ill earlier this week and it was not fun. So I'm finally recovering, which is great, and I'm happy to be here with all of you. So, oh good, and the chat is working in the thing that I have too. Perfect. Okay. If the audio quality is good, please let me know. My microphone should be fine. I know Eric and I had some issues in our last episode of Dice Tower Tonight, but that was on his end. But just in case, uh, just let me know if things are sounding weird or echoey or anything like that. I do have my office door open, so there may be some background noise coming from other places in my houses, but that's okay. So yeah, good afternoon, David from the UK. Over closer to where Spiel is wrapping up right now as we speak. Tom and Z and Efka and Elaine from No Pun Included were all live here on this channel just a little while ago. They just ended their stream about 30 minutes ago, where they were talking about everything going on at Spiel, and it sounds like it was really fun, really exciting, lots of neat games coming out, and I will admit, I am jealous, but not for the reasons I thought I would be. So obviously, I would love to go to Spiel. I've never been. It is one of my goals, dreams, something to finally make it over there for Spiel, but I'm finding myself less missing the convention itself and more being sad about seeing all of the pictures of the lovely people and friends that I know who are there. So I feel like I just want to hang out with all those people, and it kind of wouldn't matter if it was at a convention or not. I'm curious to know if any of you have similar thoughts about conventions. Like, I do love board game conventions a lot. Obviously, I go to a bunch of them, but I think it's always been more about the people for me. So the pictures of the friends make me more jealous than like the sweeping, vistas of board game booths and all of the excitement and whatever new stuff is coming out. And honestly, even if I was there, it would still take me a million years to get to all the games that are coming out from Spiel anyway. So it is an exciting event that I definitely want to go to, but I'm not necessarily missing it that much. And I'm very excited because PAX Unplugged is only a little more than a month away at this point. I can't believe the beginning of December is that close, but it is. And I'm going to PAX Unplugged, so I'm really excited. Video is a little pixely. Okay, yeah, that might be because I'm streaming through OBS instead of directly through my webcam. And I don't know if I am able to actually fix that. Yeah, like I'm not certain how I would be able to adjust that at this point. If I attempt to try, well, it's probably, the video is probably going to stay a little bit pixely this time around, just because I don't think I can change it midstream, but thank you for letting me know. Yeah, usually I don't have, I'm not streaming through a streaming software. Usually I'm just using my webcam directly, but since YouTube keeps changing how they do live streaming, I'm trying to roll with the punches and come up with more sustainable ways to do things, if that makes sense. So if you all have any questions for me, whether that is about Spiel, which I know very little about, or games I've been playing recently, or TV shows I've been watching, anything you all want to ask, I am here to answer your questions. And until it's not worth fixing, perfectly watchable and fine. Okay, that is awesome to know. Thank you. I appreciate it very, very much. So I wanted to show you all something that I did a little more than a week ago now. So some coworkers, or a single coworker of mine was leaving our company, and so we did a going away thing for her at a local restaurant. Well, it was funny because we showed up to the restaurant and they had screwed up our reservation. We had a really large group, and so they were like, well, we'll get you in as soon as we can, but it might be a little while. And so we were pretty chill about it. We went to a bar that was nearby just to hang out until they got our table ready. We ended up being there for 2 hours. That's neither here nor there. But thankfully, somebody like me had the foresight to bring board games, because why not? And I don't play board games with my coworkers. In fact, all of the people I played with were people that I'd never played board games with before. So this was me bringing games to new people. There were a couple people in the group who do play like board games and know about some hobby board games, but everything that I brought was new to everybody. So that was pretty exciting. So I grabbed this bag, my little social sloth game bag, because it's a little bit smaller than some of my others, which means the sides are bulging because of course I stuffed too much stuff in it. And I love the social sloth logo. It just kills me how cute it is. And I threw a bunch of games in here, so I'm going to show you all what I brought with me. Whoa. Sorry for the shakiness. The bag hit the table. So y'all are not going to be surprised that I brought Strike with me, of course. And I'll tell you all what we actually played in a minute, but first I'll just show you everything that I brought. So I brought Strike. I brought Just One, which you all know I love as well. I brought Deep Sea Adventure from Oink Games. Ooh, there's a lot of glare there. Oh, I just realized I never turned on my light in here. No wonder it's so dark. You know what? I should turn on my light. I am not awake yet this morning, everyone. That is a guarantee. So as soon as I show you all these games, I'm going to turn on the light. We've got Point Salad. We've got Catch the Moon. And finally, Drop It. So so 3 of these games are dexterity games, but I did that intentionally. Okay, I'm going to turn on my light, so I'm going to have to get up for a second. Apologies. I don't know how I'm so disorganized this morning. Well, I do know how I'm so disorganized. I got not enough sleep, but let's, you know what, we're going to open the blinds a little bit too, let some sunlight in here. And it's going to be much brighter. You know, actual lighting. Hopefully it will make it easier to see me. Okay, so those are the, 6 games that I brought with me. We ended up playing 3 of those 6 games. So the 3 that we ended up playing, the first one I brought out was Catch the Moon. And for those of you who haven't played this one, it is really fun. It is a dexterity stacking game. The way I describe it to people is that it's kind of like reverse Jenga, but with ladders. Like, that's my quick explanation for non-gamers as to what Catch the Moon is. So you have the plastic cloud base, and then you put wooden ladders into said cloud. Let's see if I can play Catch the Moon while holding it. This will be fun. And then once you have 2 of the base ladders in there, you roll a die, and the die will tell you what you have to do, place on your turn. You either have to place a ladder touching 2 other ladders. Woo, was that going to focus? Probably not. Place a ladder touching only 1 other ladder, or place a ladder so it is the highest point on the tower at the end of your turn. And you are only allowed to use 1 hand, like in most dexterity games. So let's say I had rolled the 2, so it'd have to be touching 2 ladders, so then I could do something maybe like this. So it's touching 2 other ladders only, so that is a legal placement, and that would be the end of my turn. If at any point the ladder touches the cloud or the table, then the moon cries because she's sad, and you have to take one of her tears. And that is adorable. And yeah, whoever has the least tears once she runs out of tears is the winner. Really simple, quick. 2 people bought this game immediately after we played it, or actually I think while we were playing it. So that I think is pretty glowing recommendation from people who don't play as many hobby games. Try to get these back in the box because otherwise I won't do it later. Okay, so that's Catch the Moon. Definitely a hit with my coworkers. So then, after I brought up Catch the Moon, I was like, okay, the dexterity thing is obviously working. They wouldn't be buying copies of games if they didn't like it. So next was Strike, which you all have definitely seen before from me. It's an arena. It's a bag of gladiators. You throw the gladiators into the arena, they do epic combat, and yeah, that's it. And it's the best. And you all know, I don't have to explain Strike, I'm sure. They were a little bummed that this one is out of print because they wanted it too. So I did tell them about Impact, which David mentions that he bought Impact Battle of Elements as a Christmas gift. And yes, it is a remake of Strike. So the thing about Impact, I have not played it, first off, so all of my opinions are based on me having seen it, but not actually played it. The box is a different size, and the arena is a different size and shape. So in Strike, the arena is this nice oval. So like when you throw the gladiators in here, they can kind of like roll around it to a certain degree when you throw them in just right, which makes it really interesting. And it's also not super deep. The Impact Arena is smaller, taller, and a little bit more rectangular. It's not a full, like it's not a sharp-edged rectangle, but it's like a rounded corner rectangle. And so it feels like it won't act the same way. Well, I know it won't act the same way because it's not the same, but most people I know that have played both say that they prefer this version of the arena. But that's not to say Impact isn't worth getting, especially if it's the only one available. But I believe Strike is still like in print overseas. It's just not in print here in America. I have 2 copies of Strike, and I got both of them off of eBay? No, I got one off of the Board Game Geek Market, and I got one off eBay, I think. So I think if you want a game like this, like Strike, that's out of print, and it's not a crazy, huge, really expensive game to begin with, keep an eye out on sites like that, because there's good opportunities to get things. Okay, so they liked Strike, couldn't buy it though. So then I was like, well, I gotta show them something else that they can buy if they like it. So we pulled out Just One, and they loved this. They loved this so much, and I was really, really happy that they enjoyed it just as much as I do. At least a couple of them bought this as well as soon as we got done playing it. And I told them, I said, this one's really good around the holidays, with family, you know, any ages. You can play this with just about anybody. Honestly, as far as party games go, this one has continued to impress the more I've played it. Like, it's just that good. I told them about the like unofficial Just Two variant. They all loved it. We had some really fun moments in this game. There was a time where I had 4 clues that were given to me, and I had to guess the word, and I wonder if I can pull up the photo so you all can see what the clues were, and I can see if you all can guess. So, I don't know if this is going to be able to focus. Whoop. Let's see if I can get that to focus. So the 4 words are, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to focus very well, probably. So the 4 clues, you can't see them, were robot, construct, or construct, rage, and time. And when those clues were presented to me, everyone was looking at me like, oh, there's no way you're gonna get this. And I was like, ooh. And I looked at them and it wasn't one of those instantaneous, I know the word type moments. It was definitely, okay, I have to think about this. And I was staring at them so hard. And it's one of those moments where when you know the word that connects them all already, it makes perfect sense. But when you don't know what the word is that's connecting all of them, they don't seem to go together as well. But then these words kind of went together, like time and robot, like those made sense to me. But I couldn't find a like single word that connected them. So I'm not going to say what the connecting word is in case anybody in the chat wants to guess. So yeah, rage, robot, construct, and time were the 4 clues. And there's one word that connects all of them. And I did eventually get it. And everyone was super impressed. And it was a really good moment. And I was glad that I got it because I was trying to make this game look impressive. So that was obviously a plus when I actually got it right. But yeah, so those were the 3 games we played. I didn't end up getting Point Salad, Deep Sea Adventure, or Drop It to the table. I think I would have probably pulled out Drop It next based on, like, we were playing really casually and I didn't want to, like, Point Salad is card-based and Deep Sea Adventure is pretty casual, but there's a lot of little pieces and we were at a high top table in a bar and so it feels like higher risk of losing stuff. But at least it doesn't take up a huge footprint on the table, which is nice. I really like Deep Sea Adventure, and I think of the Oink games, it has continued to be one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Probably. It's definitely one of my top favorites from Oink games, and I like a lot of their stuff. So let's see, David, then we've got 2 Davids in here that have been asking some questions. So let's see here. David Breel asks, did or are you doing anything for Halloween? I haven't done anything for Halloween yet. On Halloween itself, I'm actually going to go over to my friend Elissa's house and we're going to play some games and give out candy to trick-or-treaters together because my house gets almost no trick-or-treaters at all. And while I don't have children, I really like seeing kids dressed up on Halloween. It makes me super happy to see all the adorable costumes. So I wanted to actually get to see some trick-or-treaters this year, so Elissa invited me over to her house and we figured we could play games too because Thursday is usually my board game meetup night. So we're gonna pull double duty and do that on Halloween itself. I am also dressing up at work with some coworkers. I I usually have a really fun, quirky, nerdy costume for myself, and this year I don't have anything. I really wanted to dress up as Janet from The Good Place, but I didn't pull that costume together. And then since the new season of The Good Place started airing, I was hoping that a new thing would pop up that would be the thing that I could throw together last minute. But so far, none of the stuff in the new season has been necessarily costume worthy or costume doable. I did have one idea, but it's one of those things that, like, the only people who would get it would be the people actively watching the show, although I've done that before. So, like, after the first season of Stranger Things, I dressed up as the living room wall from Stranger Things and had a Raspberry Pi controlled light up living room wall with the Christmas lights where it actually spelled out words, because I'm a huge nerd. So that was a fun one, but like, my coworkers had no idea who I was. So the group costume that I'm doing with my coworkers is not my normal type of costume. They had asked me to join them and I said yes. So I'm one of a number of Bachelorette contestants. One of my coworkers is going to be Chris Hansen. Another one is going to be The Bachelor. And then a whole bunch of the women in my department are going to be bachelorettes. And that's a thing that's happening. And that's not a thing that I would typically do. But, yeah. That's what we're doing. I am trying to be a good team player, and I think it'll be fun, even if it's not something that I have a lot of familiarity with, because I don't watch The Bachelor or Bachelorette. Those are 2 different shows. So yeah, I don't watch either of them. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me for Halloween this year. I don't have, like, any big parties that I'm going to or anything like that. Let's see. Oh, the lighting helps. Yeah. Sorry, that was my bad for forgetting to turn on lights because I'm not awake yet. David Breel asks, have you seen Nedar's painted version of Catch the Moon? It's amazing. It is amazing. She just used paint markers to color all of her ladders in different cool ways. It is gorgeous and I love it, and it makes me want to do something like that. I don't know if I have the patience though. It feels like that's something that would require more patience than I have. Like, when it comes to me making art, it needs to be pretty quick. Because if I start getting bored with something, then I'll start rushing it and then it won't look as good. I know myself well enough to know that that probably wouldn't be good for me, but I love hers very much. David L. says the arena for Impact is a lot deeper. It's about 3 inches tall. But from what he's seen, it's more suitable for travel. Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah, the strike box isn't super ideal for travel, but that's kind of why I have two of them now. So this one is my older of the two copies, and the box, I don't know if you can see on camera, but it has seen some stuff. Like, it's dented in on the top here, and all of the corners are beat all to heck. Because this is the one that goes into my suitcase with me, and then the other copy is the one that I have kind of kept in better condition. And I'm not saying pristine, because none of my board games are that precious to me. I mean, they're precious to me in that I love them, but like the physical boxes are not. So yeah. Oh, Gary says as far as he knows, Strike is also out of print in Europe. All stores have Impact now. Okay. I would imagine if, like, your chances of finding a copy of Strike are probably still higher over there, but yeah, if you can't actively order them from a store, that doesn't help people here in the States. Ren says Goose in regard to my costume, probably referencing something I posted on Twitter. I was considering dressing up as the Goose from Untitled Goose Game at one point. I wanted to be in a goose costume with a red ribbon around the goose's neck, obviously, and then carrying the key ring, the gardener's key ring, and then maybe a couple other little nods to the game specifically. I did see a picture online of a family that dressed up as Untitled Goose Game. So like the mom dressed up, I think, as one of like the woman from the shop or something, and then the man dressed up as the gardener, and then both kids were dressed up as each as a goose, and it was really cute. I love Untitled Goose Game. It has been one of my favorite games to come out this year, and I thought it would be funny to dress up as a goose. But that's the thing, it's one of those things that, again, only the people who know it will know it. And my coworkers, most of them don't play video games at all. So when I even mentioned this as an idea, like even one of my really nerdy, awesome coworkers was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, and while I don't dress up, I dress up mostly for me and not for other people, which is why I've done some really nerdy costumes in the past. But I also do, it's a little bit of a bummer when you dress up in a costume and nobody knows who you are. Like that is a little bit disheartening. So if I was just dressed up as a goose, I feel like people would be more confused than anything else. I wanted to do it though. It's fine. Oh, Melissa says, do you have a list of the games you are discussing today? I don't. I actually discussed a bunch of games already, but I'd be happy to mention them again if you wanted. So I was talking about games that I brought to a work event recently with some coworkers who don't typically play a lot of hobby games. And the ones that I brought with me were Strike, Point Salad, Catch the Moon, Drop It, Deep Sea Adventure, and Just One. So those were the games I brought to introduce to my coworkers, and we ended up playing Just One, Strike, and Catch the Moon, and they loved all three of them. So that was really exciting. I think knowing your audience is really important when you're teaching games to new people. And while I don't know my coworkers' gaming tastes, I do work with them, so I have some ideas of what they like and what they don't like. And honestly, I tried to pick games that, regardless of the person, like I think Just One will work for almost anybody. I think Strike doesn't work for just anybody, but it's quick enough that you're either going to love it or you're just going to be like, meh, that was fine, whatever. Like it's not, Strike isn't going to be bothersome to somebody that doesn't like it, if that makes sense, because it's so quick and it's silly. So like if you don't like silly games, then you haven't really wasted a lot of time there. And Catch the Moon, I think simple dexterity games are hard for people to be like, oh, I hate that. Some people don't like dexterity games as much as other games. I would actually be one of those people. I prefer non-dexterity games normally, but in a social, casual setting, I think dexterity games work really well because you don't have to think between turns at all. And that's important when we're sitting in a bar and there's lots of conversation going on. You don't want to have to be solely focused on the game because you can't be. So that's what's great about Catch the Moon is you can place your ladder, turn around, talk to some people, have a sip of your beverage, eat some mozzarella sticks, and then when it gets back around to your turn, you haven't really missed anything. Like the state of the game will have changed, but it doesn't really affect anything for you on your turn because you just have to look at the state of the tower and go, okay, where do I want to place the ladder now? My mom is calling. Well, we're not answering that. Um, so sorry, I got distracted by the phone call. Apologies. But yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of dexterity games in a social setting like that, because they are more approachable for that reason. If people have to think about the game too much, then it won't work in a social setting, because then people come to their turn and they go, okay, wait, so what did Joe do on his turn, and what did Jenny do on her turn, and okay, hold on, now if I do this, that, this, you don't want to have to do that when you're, yeah, casually having drinks with friends or with coworkers. So yeah, let's see here. Um, Oh, you want me to type out a list? I can definitely do that, Melissa. Here, I will do that in the chat. So we've got, sorry for the typing noises, just one strike, point salad. Apologies for the catch the moon. Drop it. And deep sea adventure. Okay, that's the end of the typing noises. I know my keyboard bothers people. I have to have that mechanical sound, the keyboard. Like the super flat keys, like the Apple ones, like the Mac, I can't, it's not enough. I need to feel what I'm typing. Is anybody else like that? I know that the noise is annoying when it's next to my microphone, which it is right now, but I just have to have it. So, okay, so Two Tones says, Crystal, how close is Dice Tower West to being sold out? It is pretty darn close to being sold out. We've hit a very large percentage of the tickets being sold, and then just kind of like we're hovering. And so I would say if you or someone you know is on the fence about whether they want to come or not, it is definitely wise to just go ahead and get badges now. They will sell out. It's just a matter of when. And obviously, at this point, they've been on sale for a while, so I can't predict at all when they will actually sell out. Like even if there were just 2 tickets left, which I don't think it hasn't gotten that low, but it's getting closer. Like I can't tell you when 2 tickets are going to sell out. It could be today, it could be 2 months from now. There's really no way to know. But we're definitely close. So get your badges if you don't have them yet. Dice Tower West is one of my favorite things in the whole world, and not just because I've been involved with it for a number of years, but it is genuinely one of the nicest, most friendly, most welcoming groups of convention goers that I've had the pleasure of being around. Lots of players wanted signs, lots of teachers wanted signs, and those signs go up and then they come down right away because there's always somebody there who's willing to help or hop in or whatever else. And like I know last year I taught games to a few different groups. It was funny, a couple people grabbed me because they knew how much I loved the game Castell, and they asked me if I could teach it to them, and I didn't have time to play the game myself, but I went over and taught it to them and then left them to play it on their own because I love that game so much. I was like, yes, I want to help you play this game, even if I can't play it with you. And I really wanted to. I always want to play Castell because I love it so much. My favorite game of 2018, easily. But yeah, like I think my experience was not unique. A lot of people will do that. They'll just go out of their way to help other people learn a game, even if they aren't going to end up playing in it themselves. And just the vibe is very chill and casual. There isn't this frantic rush like there is at Gen Con or some of the other larger conventions. Everyone is just kind of hanging out for a bunch of days playing board games. And I really like that a lot. It feels more low key. It feels a little less tiring. I think because, I mean, board game conventions are always a little bit exhausting for me. Just playing games nonstop is mentally taxing, even if it isn't physically taxing. And so I tend to need to recharge and get some good sleep between just for my mental state to kind of bounce back. But I know not everybody's like that. Some people can go off just a couple hours of sleep and get right back to the gaming. I am not one of those people. If you are in the chat and you can live off of like 2 or 3 hours of sleep between big gaming sessions, tell me how you do it. I want to know the secret because I am not capable of doing that. If I get less than, I'd say, 6 hours of sleep, I cannot function at a good level the next day, even after just a single night of that. Like, I'm already at a lower, and I tend to get grumpy when I'm tired, which is not fun for anybody, truthfully. Like, I'll get frustrated and annoyed by things that don't tend to frustrate or annoy me as much. Excuse me. So yeah, I have to get enough sleep to maintain my normal preferred aura of happiness and positivity. It is the way I like to live my life, and when I can't be like this, it makes me really sad. Oh my gosh. Okay. David L asks, do you have any games you're really excited for from Essen? I don't, but that doesn't mean that I won't. So I've kind of been staying away from the hot games lists, I guess, for some reason. It's weird. I think it's just because there's so much coming out of Essen that if I were to look now, I would maybe get excited about things that I won't get to play anytime soon or that might not even be releasing in the States. And so I think this year I've subconsciously stayed away from a lot of the lists just so I can wait until stuff kind of shakes out and see what's coming over to the States, and what's going to be available here and what I can play, and then get excited about those, I guess. I'm not sure. It's weird. I'm not excited about the games coming out at us, and I just haven't really looked into the specific titles as much. I know that there are some really cool escape room games or games of that style that are releasing, and I'm always excited about that kind of stuff. And there was one that came out last year that I think I saw on the list again this year, and I mentioned it as and Eric and I did lists at one point, and I mentioned it there. Oh, when we were talking about games that we were looking forward to, I think in 2019. I want to say it was on that. It's called it's Sarah's something, and now I don't remember what the second word is, so I'm going to look it up real quick on Board Game Geek. Sarah's Vision, I think. Hold on. Sarah's Vision. Yes. I don't know when it is officially releasing anywhere, but this one has me fascinated because it has a Jenga style tower as part of the game, and I think it's cooperative, and I don't even know if it looks great, but it looks interesting, and that's one that I've been wondering about. I don't know if it has formally released. I think I saw it on a list for Essen, so I think it's out now, but that one definitely had my interest, for sure. Yes, Sarah's Vision. Okay, yeah. So that one has been on my interest list for a while now, and I'm very curious about that. I guess I could read you all the description. It's mostly just flavor text, I think. Oh, here, there's more of the act. So it's a story-driven, cooperative game of strategy and resource management set in a world beyond imagination, in which powerful forces seek to undermine society and return us to the dark days of the early 21st century. Players take on the role of agency operatives and have to work through a series of story-driven events. At the end of each round, the leading event triggers and danger builds on 3 special citizens unless the players can find a way to keep them safe. Players have to choose wisely which agency HQ tower resources to use and when to use them if they are to succeed. So yeah, there's like a Jenga tower. And I know I shouldn't use what's the generic term for Jenga tower? Is it just wooden block tower? That doesn't seem to be clear enough. But I imagine Jenga is probably not happy with other people using their name in their products. I mean, everybody knows what Jenga is, so. I'm so sorry. For those of you who missed the beginning, I've been sick this week, and so I'm still recovering, and so I apologize for the coughing. That is part of it. Kabuki Kid came into the chat. Hi, Kabuki. Kabuki says, I'm not alone. They've been avoiding the Essen hype too. leave the guys like the Dice Tower gang to sift through everything to show me the gems. I think that is honestly a smart plan when it comes to Essen. Some of the other cons, there's only so many releases, and so you can kind of keep up with it. But Essen, there are so many, literally hundreds of games coming out at Essen. And I think, especially for those of us in the States who aren't necessarily going to have immediate access to all of those games, it's kind of a bummer if you get hyped about something and then can't get your hands on it. A really good example, last year, I believe at Essen 2018, a game came out, I don't remember the publisher, called Cupcake Empire, and I actually did get to play it a few weeks later at BGG Con. Someone had a copy, and I loved it. I think there is a publisher that's bringing Cupcake Empire over to the States, but like if I hadn't gotten to play it at BGG Con, I would still be waiting now more than like a year later from when it released. And I really liked Cupcake Empire a lot. So I'm very excited for it to come over to the States, so I can actually get a copy of it. If you haven't seen Cupcake Empire, it is really neat. It's dice allocation? No. You roll dice and then take actions based on where your dice are on your board. There's different colors of dice, and then you're building little cupcake stands and serving cupcakes to people. And the meeples, the people, have different colored shirts and pants on them, and that is that signifies their favorite kind of cupcake. So if they have a pink shirt and brown pants, that means they like a chocolate cupcake with strawberry icing. And it's so silly and not realistic. People don't dress like their favorite flavor of cupcake, although maybe they should. But regardless, like it's a neat way to be like, okay, that person wants this type of cupcake, so I have to make that to make them happy. The game is really interesting. The way you lose some of your dice depending on what you roll with them, and you have to get them back, and there's some interesting little mechanics in it. I was really impressed when I played it at BGG Con last year, and I'm glad somebody's going to be bringing it to the States. I know I heard that is happening, but I don't remember who or when. Actually, let's look that up. You know what? Because if I'm going to tell you all about this awesome game that I like, let's try and find out when it is coming out over here and will be more available. So it's published by Ludonova in Europe. Let's go down to the forums part of the entry and see if I can find out when it is coming over to the States. I don't see anything immediately. Retail availability in Canada, post from 10 months ago. I know I heard that this one was getting brought over. I wonder if that was just a rumor. I'm not sure. Well, if anybody has any information about Cupcake Empire, let me know, because I really would like a copy, and I guess I could order it from overseas if I wanted to. But it's okay, so it's one of those games that I want to own, but I don't desperately need to own immediately. So that's why I haven't sought it out, I guess. Scrolling back up a little bit. Oh yeah, so David Briel said Sarah's Vision looks super interesting. Yeah, it's one of those games that I feel like when I finally play it, I could actually see it ending up being boring or even like disappointing, but there's enough different stuff about it that I really want to try it. And that's the kind of game that I'm looking for nowadays. I want things that feel different. And sometimes the things that feel different don't end up working out, and they end up not working for me or for my game group or for whatever reason. But those are the ones that catch my interest, because there's so many games coming out nowadays that the ones that have unique mechanisms or unique themes are the ones that I tend to gravitate toward, because I want to experience new things. That's how you slow down the passage of time in your own life, is by trying out new stuff. So, let's see. Bones and Banners says Jenga is trademarked, but the actual game is over 200 years old. I did not know that. That's interesting. I played Jenga a lot as a kid. I think most people had a Jenga tower. And I've considered getting one of those giant ones to put in our backyard, because we actually have a big area of AstroTurf in the backyard that I think would work really well for that. But I don't know when people would necessarily play giant Jenga in our backyard. Anytime people come over to play games, we typically play board games inside. So I think getting people outside to play Jenga might be a struggle. Oh, okay. David Briel says, I'm hoping Hurly Burly comes to the States. It's described as Rhino Hero with catapults. It was the charity game for this year, but it is supposed to get a wider release later. I have not heard about that yet, but I am now interested. Hurly Burly sounds great. Rhino Hero with catapults sounds awesome. I played a game last year at BGG Con, I participated in Spielathon, which is their charity event to raise money for the Spiel Foundation? I'm confusing things in my head. There's a charity event that happens at BGG Con every year. And I'm getting the name of it wrong, probably. But there's a bunch of dexterity games that you go around and play. And one of them was, there were wooden pieces that you were constructing into a tower of things. Like, I don't remember if there were specific constraints that you had to follow. And then the other players were catapulting things at your tower trying to knock it over. And that was really fun. And I don't remember the name of it. So this whole story is kind of pointless. Oh my goodness, can you all tell that I'm not at 100% today? Because that is definitely the case. Kabuki Kid says, I am the one person on the planet who has never once played Jenga. Well, I'm sure you're not the only one. And it's not like you're missing out on some spectacular thing. I think Jenga's best moments... Oh, Kaboom! David Briel, Kaboom is the game that... Yes, that is the one that I was talking about. Thank you. So yeah, Jenga is fine, but the best moment in Jenga is when somebody's like trying to tap out one of the blocks and the tower just like starts wiggling and everybody kind of holds their breath and just waits to see if it's going to fall or not. That's the best moment in Jenga for sure. Let's see here. Orlando says, oh, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Majolica is another great game that didn't get a major release. I played Majolica, again, I'm butchering the pronunciation, I'm sure. I played that one at BGG-Con last year as well, and I didn't like it. I was surprised. It seems like everybody kind of universally was enjoying it, like across the con, but the specific game that I played of it, it just really didn't resonate with me at all. There were some things about it that I found a little frustrating, and I ended up winning the game, so it's not like I was necessarily bad at it, but I just didn't enjoy it that much. So I guess I personally am not upset that Majolica didn't get a wider release, but I know other people really liked the game, so I'm sad for them. So Melissa asks, do I do this chat on a regular basis? That's a really good question, Melissa, and I do. I do this chat every single month, the last Sunday of every month, at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. GMT. So I know that a lot of the live content here on the Dice Tower, at least that I participate in, is at a time where people over in Europe can't watch. So I make sure that I do my Q&A in the morning. And I do it on a weekend, because there aren't a lot of weekend live streams from the Dice Tower typically as well. Yeah, I'm answering questions every month, and it's usually fun. We often talk about TV shows and other things, not just board games. I kind of answer any questions the chat throws at me. There's been some good TV lately. I'm very excited that the final season of The Good Place is happening. I'm not happy that it is the final season, obviously, because it's one of my favorite shows and I love it. And I don't want to see it go, but I'm happy that they're ending it the way they want to. And what else have I been watching recently? Oh, I watched that new Netflix original series that Paul Rudd is in, Living with Yourself. Delightful. And Paul Rudd is just great in general, and that show really, really neat. I liked it quite a bit. I would say if you haven't watched Living with Yourself, don't watch the preview that Netflix shows you before you click into the actual thing. Go in blind. If you haven't seen any previews for Living with Yourself, definitely just go in blind and just watch it, because I think the first episode gets a little bit spoiled by the preview, and that's not, I think it definitely does, which it's fine. It's just the first episode, but Um, Kid says, who remembers the old game from the 80s called Crossbows and Catapults? So I know that that game exists, but I've never played it. I've heard good things though. Kabuki asks, have you seen Joker? Thoughts, interest in seeing it? If you haven't, I have not seen it. The Joker as a character isn't one of my favorites, and I've basically been told that this movie, like if you aren't a fan of the character, that this movie doesn't necessarily have a lot for you. My husband has seen it twice now in theaters, so I think he would know best if I was going to like that movie, and I don't think I would, so I haven't seen it. Melissa asks, are you on Facebook? I am on Facebook, but I don't tend to accept friend requests from people who I haven't met and interacted with in person in a somewhat significant way. So if you would like to follow me on social media, I am very active on Twitter, and my Twitter account is public. So it is my full name, at Crystal Pisano, Pisano. You can come follow me on Twitter. I tweet about lots of board game stuff, Star Trek pretty frequently, my pictures of my dogs, and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, you are more than welcome to come follow me on Twitter if we have not interacted in person in any significant way, because I don't tend to just accept friend requests on Facebook from anybody, just to, keep my personal life a little bit locked down. I feel like once you are on YouTube, you kind of lose some semblance of privateness to your life, but I do keep a little bit of that. And I think my Instagram is actually public as well, although that's pretty much just doggos pictures. Like that's, if you want just the dogs, following me on Instagram would probably work as well. I didn't used to post on Instagram as much, and I'm trying to get better about it. So, but yeah, if you want board game content from me on Instagram, that you'd want to follow my podcast's account, which is at Board Game Blitz, Blitz. And you can also follow Board Game Blitz on Twitter as well. We post all of our episodes on all of the social media platforms. And we actually just released a really fun one this past Thursday. So my co-host Ambi is on quote unquote maternity leave from the podcast right now. She just gave birth to twins last month. And so this past Thursday was our first episode with a guest host, and moderator Chris, formerly of Flip the Table, joined me on Board Game Blitz, and we ignored our normal 30-minute limit and talked for quite a while, and it was a really fun episode. And in 2 weeks, the next episode coming out also has a guest host, and it is delightful. 2 amazing episodes back to back. I think everybody's going to really, really enjoy both of them. So if you are not subscribed to my podcast, why are you not subscribed yet? It's really good. And most episodes are only 30 minutes, so it's easy to fit into your schedule. And it's super fun. I love it. I've loved making it. And Ambi will be back soon, which is awesome because I miss podcasting with her when I don't get to. So we've got about 10 minutes left, so if y'all have any more questions for me, make sure you drop them in the chat now-ish so I can get to them before we wrap things up. Let's see here. Charles asks, is anyone here as excited about the release of Remnants by Plaid Hat? I love that whole series of storybook games. I don't know if I know about Remnants. I'm not sure if I know about that one. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick and see, because I know I've heard about new stuff from Plaid Hat, but is that one like newly announced? Maybe I missed it. There's a Remnants entry from 2018. Is that it? Is this Plaid Hat? No, this is Fireside. Maybe it's not on Board Game Geek yet. Remnants. Let's just search and see if I can find it. I don't see it on Board Game Geek, so maybe it's just like really new and I just haven't heard about it yet. All right, let's see here. Bones and Banners says, have you watched Watchmen? I have not, but I've heard good things. This is one of the best problems to have, is that there are so many good TV shows and movies coming out nowadays that I can't keep up with all of the awesome stuff. So I have not seen it yet. Kabuki says trailers sometimes ruin shows and movies. Yeah, I would say that happens pretty frequently nowadays. I would say not maybe not ruining them, but spoiling some of the magic. But I totally get it because sometimes the cool part of the show or the movie you want people to know about in advance so they're interested in watching, but then you've spoiled the cool thing that happens in the show or the movie. So how do you get people interested without actually showing them what it's about? That's honestly something that I imagine people who cut trailers struggle with quite a bit. And I don't know what the solution is. Because, yeah, I don't, you have to show me something that interests me, but I don't want to have the whole thing spoiled. So, what can you do? Kabuki Kid says the first episode of Watchmen covered the bombing and riots in Tulsa, which was cool to see a lost part of history for decades. Oh, that's really interesting. Um, I don't actually know a lot about the bombing and riots in Tulsa. Oh wait, no, I don't know if I know about that. I'll have to look it up. Unrelated and much more lighthearted anecdote about Tulsa. The best pancakes I've ever eaten in my entire life were at a cafe in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which sounds so silly. I wonder, if I look up, I don't know if I'll be able to find this. This is going to take some Googling. Tulsa, I'm going to say best pancakes and see if I can recognize the name of the place. Because this was literally, how many years ago would this have been? This was back in 2007, I want to say. Oh my gosh, it was the first one that came up. Tally's Good Food Cafe in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's the first one listed. And when I googled Tulsa best pancakes, for the record, I mean, I called this show Board Game Brunch for a reason. I love breakfast food, brunch food, pancakes, waffles, all of it. Pancakes, especially at restaurants, tend to underwhelm me. Waffles are always great, but pancakes are very hit or miss. Tally's Good Food Cafe had mind-blowing pancakes. I have been dreaming about those pancakes for 12 years, and I still was able to remember the name of the place just by a quick Google search. So if you find yourself in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I highly recommend go to Tally's Good Food Cafe and get some pancakes because it was amazing. Oh, so good. Now I'm hungry for pancakes. I might have to make pancakes when I get done with this. Okay. Oh, Melissa asks, where do we subscribe to the podcast? So you can subscribe anywhere that podcasts are available. So that would be on iTunes, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, any of those places. If you search for Board Game Blitz, you should find us. And if you can't, tag me on Twitter and I can find a direct link for you. Oh, and we also post our episodes to our YouTube channel. So if you go to the Board Game Blitz YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel, we don't post a ton of videos on there, so you're not going to get, a deluge of other things. But we post a video of each episode. There's no actual video content. It's all audio. We just have like a still image, basically. But yeah, you can get it any of those places. So yeah, thanks for wanting to subscribe. We really enjoy, we appreciate the support. And if you do like the podcast, feel free to head over to iTunes and give us a rating and a review. If we get a lot of good ratings and reviews, it helps other people see our podcast in the rankings on iTunes. So when they go searching for board game podcasts, ours is more likely to come up if people have rated and reviewed it highly. So if you like it, I don't ever say you have to give us a specific type of rating, but if you enjoy it, we appreciate the ratings. So let's see here. Kabuki asks, do you watch scary movies near Halloween? Have you watched any good horror movies this month? I don't watch a lot of horror movies in general, and I don't tend to watch a lot of stuff necessarily around Halloween, although yesterday I did watch some Hocus Pocus because it's great. Hocus Pocus is wonderful. And my husband didn't watch a lot of kid movies when he was younger, so he's never seen Hocus Pocus before, so I have to show it to him at some point. It's legitimately a really good movie, I think. And not just because one of my favorite actors, Doug Jones, is in it as Billy. If people don't know who Doug Jones is, you do know who Doug Jones is. You just don't recognize him because he's always in lots and lots of makeup in almost every single one of his roles. So most recently, he has been Saru on Star Trek Discovery, but he is he's creatures in Pan's Labyrinth, like the creature with the eyes in their hands. That's him. He's Billy in Hocus Pocus. He is the fish creature from The Shape of Water. So he's in a whole bunch of things that you've probably seen, but you just don't ever see his face. Because he's always covered in makeup. He's very, very tall and very, very lean. So that's why he kind of got into this like role of being always in lots of makeup, because since he's so petite to begin with, they can kind of layer stuff onto him without making him look, unnaturally bulky. And he's a really talented actor. Anson Mount actually has a podcast called The Well, and he did a 2-part series where he interviewed Doug Jones. And it was fascinating to hear him talk about his experience getting into the industry and his projects that he's worked on over the years. So if you are interested in that kind of behind the scenes stuff, I highly recommend, if you look for The Well by Anson Mount, and I don't remember his co-host's name, but look for the episodes where they interviewed Doug Jones. Super, super interesting. Kabuki asks, have I watched any good movies of any type recently? I haven't really watched many movies recently. Really at all. I haven't been to the theater. Oh, okay, no, I have been to the theater. I went and saw Jay and Silent Bob Reboot recently. I really liked Clerks and Mallrats and Dogma and a lot of Kevin Smith's older movies. So when I heard that he was doing Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, I was very excited. And I went and saw it when it was in theaters for a Fathom event. I think it's getting a wide release later, but they had it in theaters for a couple of nights for a Fathom event thing. And that movie is exactly what it should have been, if that makes sense. So like, if you have no knowledge or connection to Kevin Smith's prior works, there's no reason to see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot at all, because the whole movie is just jokes and callbacks to his older stuff. There is a plot and there are some nice moments technically unrelated to that, but really the movie is not great otherwise. And I like his work. I appreciate what he did with it, but it is just packed full of celebrity cameos from every single movie he's ever done. And a lot of references to his older works, like lots of in-jokes and staring at the camera type moments like, hey, you know this joke, right? So I did see that, and I enjoyed it, even if I don't actually think it's that good of a movie. So yeah, if you're a Kevin Smith fan, I think it's worth seeing at least once. Kabuki Kid says, one of my favorite movie experiences was going to see The Matrix for the first time in the theater and having zero clue what we were going into, just sort of knew it was sci-fi. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, if you have no idea what The Matrix is, that I can imagine would be really, really exciting for sure. Same thing going to see the original Star Wars. Was blown away. Yeah, definitely. I can imagine that would have been really cool. David says, do I have a spinoff podcast called Board Game Blintz? No, I do not, but apparently with my love of breakfast food, I should. Something food related. Okay. Okay, so yeah, Kabuki says I should definitely research the Tulsa race riot of 1921. Once I learn about it, I will be blown away that it was swept under the rug and hidden from history for so long. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. I like learning about stuff from history that has some significance. That's neat. Neat, not that it happened. Neat that you've provided the information so I can go look it up, just to be clear. Charles says, Hocus Pocus is the film I watch every Halloween. Well, he just says Halloween, but I assume every Halloween. Love that movie. Yeah, I mean, Hocus Pocus is great. Just like Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Nahimi are so delightful as the three witches. Just fun and campy, but just the right amount of all of it. It's so good. I love it very, very much. Oh, you did clarify every Halloween. Perfect. I must have seen the message below subconsciously and not realized it. Let's see. Do I know Mark Zikri, writer for sci-fi, even older Trek. He's doing a show called Space Command with him in it too. That guy gets around. Oh, like with Doug Jones? Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I have not heard about this. I'm gonna have to look it up. Doug Jones is a really talented actor. So I'm definitely interested in checking that out. Okay, folks, it is 10:30. Don't leave yet though. Very important. First off, I want you to have a really, really lovely Sunday. Whether it's morning or afternoon, or if you're over in the across the pond an evening, I hope that you have a lovely day. Do something today that makes you happy, because that's important. Take some time for yourself and do something that makes you happy, and that will make me happy, because I've had a rough week and I want you to be happy. And then right before you leave, if you could just click the little thumbs up icon below this video, whether you are on a mobile device or your computer, I would really, really appreciate it, because that helps with the YouTube algorithms and makes it possible for other people to see this video more often in their feed. Especially for people who subscribe to the Dice Tower, there's a lot of videos coming out. And so it's sometimes nice to let people know that I have a Q&A. I do this Q&A every Sunday. I know I say this every time. The last Sunday of every month, not every Sunday, last Sunday of every month, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. GMT, and it is always a delight to speak with you all. I really appreciate those of you who joined me live, asked questions, and just hung out with me. I hope you had a good brunch if you were eating brunch, and if you haven't had any yet, go get some, whether it's pancakes in Tulsa or pancakes from your own kitchen. I think you should enjoy something today. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.